Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's David Palmer, Leo King, and Rich Lopp here for the Awakening Experience, the Strength card. What's going on? How you doing, Rich?
What's up, man? Strength card. That's a good card, especially with all the crazy stuff we've been going through lately. You know,
and just the spiritual journey's life. It's like another tool bag card.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, most people find their way to the spiritual community for the same reason. When we start having difficulties and obstacles and we start getting beat down, and like, especially if you're brought up in a place that's either not very spiritual at all or sometimes even religious, but most of the people who find themselves in the spiritual community all have the same thing in common. Their life is really fucked up. And then we all talk about the same thing. We reach this point where something snaps and this beast awakens in you, and you go from rock bottom and you start climbing the mountain on the spiritual journey. And that's what this always feels like to me every time I see this card. It's like that transformation that happens that most people don't do it on purpose, I don't think. It's something that kind of happens by accident. It's like for example, I had to tell somebody one time who was struggling. It was a woman who had a son who was like stuck on her titty. and everybody was telling her, you just got to abandon him. You got to kick him out of the nest. And I told her, I said, you know, the best thing that ever happened to me was being abandoned and left for dead by everybody. Yeah. Because, you know, you hit that rock bottom like that, something clicks. You figure it out.
Yeah, it takes that. I think people get strength like, okay, I'm going to take creatine and I'm going to go to the gym. But I like that this card has to deal with that inner strength that we find. And we just talked about it just recently, and Jordan Peterson says it best, like the power that we have as an individual to know that we could kill and use that beastly energy, but to have control over it to not is a lot safer and better than somebody who doesn't know it. So it's one of those really weird beasts to wrangle, because that's what it's doing. It's being tamed, but it's being tamed by that love, because there is that, of course, I am the Leo King. There's the Leo quality to this card. And it's that Leo heart. And you just brought up when people hit that rock bottom, you ain't going to go anywhere unless there is something that finally shows up where you've accepted happiness and love that is part of the journey that you're going to get to. And that strength of like, you know what, I'm going to do better in my life. I love this. And whether that's especially, I mean, as men, man, when we find the right woman in life, well, we got the strength to do it all.
Yeah.
And there is that energy of that feminine energy. I like this card because it shows that the masculine just can't do it without the feminine can't do it without the masculine. Like there's that equal exchange, that infinity symbol that's on here.
Yeah.
And that's what it reminds me of, is like when we hit a hard place in life, there's got to be something that inner has to find, of that inner strength. It don't matter if you've had, I mean, nothing against people who have creatine all day, or even like to, you know, shoot it in their butt right here and just like, nah. It's all about that inner strength, because it's something that has to be found. There's a light that has to be found, or you got to turn that switch. To me, when you bring up turning that switch on, this is that card.
Yeah. It's the past 5 years or so of my career, I've been trying to figure out some sort of way to articulate how to do that intentionally. And I still struggle with that, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, because most of the people that come to me, not quite so much here lately, but in retrospect, the majority of the clients that I've read for and whatnot, they're at that place where they're so lost, they don't know what to do next. They feel like there's something that they're not seeing. And it's like, no, not really. It goes back to what we always end up talking about, how the spiritual community is really good at misleading you into believing that it's supposed to be love and light and fluffy stuff all the fucking time.
Right.
And nobody talks about this.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about that, where you have to balance the energies. Like you said the other day, where you don't trust somebody who hasn't wrestled with their demons and faced their shadow. And this has a lot to do with facing those demons and almost in a weird way becoming friends with them. Would you agree with that?
I mean, yeah, I think the story of Archangel Michael is he has his foot on Lucifer's head to keep him from coming into heaven. And if 1 second he takes that foot off, Lucifer comes back in, causes havoc. And so it reminds me of like, maybe it's not people could take that term maybe, but I understand what you're saying of like being friends with it is like, Archangel Michael has to get to the boundary of heaven and hell and beyond that boundary line. And his foot's on top of it, but and you got to wrestle with it. You got to be in it to kind of understand it. So it's like one of those weird things to where I feel like, yeah, whether it's like when you brought that up, it's like, yeah, I don't trust somebody unless they've really been to like some fucking house that's been abandoned and there's what you see on the outside is one thing. What's going on the inside is a completely different thing. And you were willing to walk through that door and see what was inside of there. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't do that. Yeah. A lot of people do the opposite. Like, oh my God, look at that place. Where it's like there's times in our life where we want to, explore and we find our inner strength by sometimes even whether it's in group therapy. I remember being like, I'm crazy. And I didn't think I had the strength to get through my panic disorder and my agoraphobia and all that shit. And when I went to group therapy and all these situations were happening in the group, I was like, fuck, I'm not that crazy. But it made me also find that inner strength by hearing other people and finding that. That's kind of what reminds me too of that nurturing energy that comes with the strength card is like, oh wait, others are going through shit too, but I'm also like, I'm actually taking I'm dealing with the problem. That's the other part of the strength thing is like, whatever the issue is, I'm dealing with it. And I've surrendered to the state of like, it might sound fucking stupid, but it's like, there's a false strength that just keeps hitting a brick wall. And it's like, when you surrender that false strength where you just keep trying to push through that fucking wall. And then when it's always the thing that you don't want to do, like, oh man, I need to go get help, or I need to maybe do it a different way, or I have to let go of this one thing. And that's so much part of the manifestation and the awakening experience itself is like the let go.
Yeah.
That the real strength's found, like, and that's what I really feel like that card represents to me is like, it's not as bad when we get to that strength where there's an alliance with the universe it's going to be okay. You're going in the right direction. And it's a slow empowerment that kind of builds that becomes unstoppable where it becomes no more obstacles. And we all have minor obstacles that come, but it's part of the game. Like, you got to jump over hurdles if you want to be in the fucking Olympics,
Yeah. Yeah. And actually it can be equated to the people that take creatine all day, because one of the things that I've learned on my journey, which was a big surprise to me, was that spirituality and fitness go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I never would have thought about it that way. It just, looking back, it's so interesting about how if you follow my journey, you can see where I started reading tarot in September of 2018. I was a skinny little beanpole with long hair, little hippie looking dude. And then somewhere in there, within like a 2 or 3 month period, I got real fat because I was making good money, sitting back on my ass all day, not getting no physical activity in, drinking beer, eating pizza and donuts, and I got real fat real quick. And then in 2020, I finally said, if this is the lifestyle I'm going to live, I got to get to the fucking gym. And the last thing on my mind was anything spiritual at all.
Right.
I was putting fitness in a completely different category. And the more that I went into that journey, the more I realized this is the same damn thing.
Right.
It's the only difference is it is an internalized within the human body where when you're on a manifestation path, you're manipulating the energy of the big power of everything out here.
Yeah.
But it's the exact same thing going on inside your body. So, I mean, those two can be equated. And like where you said, it's like small baby steps. It's the same thing. Like if you take somebody, for example, who is seriously overweight, this is what I tell people. Get on the treadmill and run until you can't run no more. I don't care if it's 0.10. And then the next day, get on and run 0.10 until you can't. And do that every single day. What you'll notice is that number gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because you're starting to write new connections into your brain. And it's literally the manifestation journey is happening inside your body, except for out here.
Yeah.
So that's one very fascinating thing that I've learned. And over the past few years, I've been working to try to figure out a way to bridge the gap between fitness and whatnot and the spiritual journey. So,
well, I think it's also a good way to understand the bridging of the gap of this physical reality and spirituality, because it's not like in this card he's a wild lion running to go kill a gazelle. He's stopped. And it's the understanding of that inner strength. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's where the problem comes, is like, I'm going to go out there and do it. And it's when you're attached to that physical, like, I take everything in life, especially being in the military, going through boot camp. You learn things like, you don't focus on fucking the push-ups that you have to do. You're focused on graduating boot camp. Right? So it's like, no matter what's being thrown at me, it's like, I'm not thinking about, fuck, this moment there's push-ups. I already know there'll be push-ups tomorrow. I already know there'll be some other thing I'm going to be screamed at in my face about or something. My goal, they teach you to make a goal. So I was at the beach last week shooting a new talent here on High Vibe, and it's fucking, there's so many steps, and I'm holding both cinema cameras like this, and I'm in the sand with my shoes on. And I'm like, and she's like, how in the hell do you just keep, I'm like, I don't think about the steps. I'm thinking about the car. Till I get to the car. I don't even let my body even stress or think about things. There's that inner focused strength that I feel that has to come. But I think the other part of this too, which is really weird that it's being tamed and that there's a nurturing and a natural nature to it, is, again, if you're just like wild coyote, like, I'm just going to fucking do it, I'm going to do it as fast as I can, it's just not going to go anywhere. It becomes, it's like, then you're spinning your wheels, or it's like a big off-road, 4-wheel drive just in the mud. And so we can use our energy, I think, externally incorrectly if we haven't got our true understanding of whatever the path is, that inner strength. And it's based off love, it's based off love on this card. There's a love between both of them. And it's like people who want to keep doing a job and they're wondering why they're burnt out. It's like, well, do you love it? This is the card of like, do you even love it? Because you're not going to be able to continue to go. If anything, the reason why cancers are happening and all this, people are just so unhappy with what they do, and they keep trying to fucking have the strength to do what I don't want to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work that way, though. Like, people think it does, but it doesn't. I have to do this because of this situation. It's like, no.
Yeah.
If there's no love in it, then you don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's a good way to describe what you were just talking about with the false strength. Because I think the majority of us, we have that false strength of, usually it's running from your demons. So if I'm forcing myself to get up and do something that I hate every single day, that is building a bit of a false strength. But again, it's wiring your brain to where, it is a form of strength, but it's not a strength that can grow. Not really. Because again, it's just on the outside. On the inside, and yes, we're getting to a point now in society where it's becoming more and more and more known that that's where diseases come from.
Yes.
It's, even hereditary diseases, which that goes down a totally different path, but even things that you're born with. It's a vibrational misalignment, and it's caused by and large by building that false strength, creating that fake surface level. It's like a shell around you where on the inside you've completely lost touch with everything that's going on the inside, because all you're thinking about is the outside. All you're thinking about is, I got to pay the bills. I got to do this. I got to do that. I have to do this. Like, that's most people's attitude about everything they do in life. I have to do this. I have to do that. And yeah, most people, I think, that I've known personally who have suffered from cancer or died from cancer very much lived a life like that.
100%. I think it's funny, in astrology, we have the sign Cancer, which rules emotions.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a crab.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's got a shell. And so when we're uncomfortable in life, or we're holding on to emotions too much, What do you think's going to happen? Especially people don't realize they're holding on to an emotion of dissatisfaction or unhappiness with everything that you just said, right? It's like, I have to do this, but what does that really mean? Underneath, I don't feel good doing this. The interesting part too about this card is it's the 8th card, but it's got the infinity symbol. So it's like, if it's an infinite feeling of something that you're putting a false strength into that doesn't have love to it, it's going to be infinite in your life. And I know we talk about loops, but to me, the infinity loop is not one I would want to be stuck in. You know, there's loops, and then there's the infinity loop of that's like the macro loop.
Yeah.
I don't want the macro loop. Like, I don't know, this reminds me of like fucking, like the little fucking NASCAR track, little like cars we had as kids, like they were around, you just put it on the track, and it was just a figure 8 circle. I don't want to be putting that shit on there if I don't like the car, if I don't like the energy that it is, because that is not a ride I want to be on in my life, you know? And so that's, I think, the problem is that people are holding emotions in without realizing it. And even though the strength card is, you know, deterministic and it's determined to get to where it's going to go, and it has to be natural, because that's why the maiden in here has flowers. It's the yellow sky. There's the same thing like in the temperance card. That temperance card keeps coming up in every fucking thing, right? The naturalness of the universe and the world. If it's not natural, you're not going to get strength from it. Artificial strength is probably the biggest failure in spirituality. Mm-hmm. Like, I saw it on TikTok, I'm going to do it. I have the strength to do it because I saw it on TikTok. It's not that I'm putting down. It's, okay, when you get to now doing it, the strength to go, all right, also getting rid of the ego's identity of whatever that looks like, because that road to you getting to where you're going to go is not going to look the way that you exactly think. Mm-hmm. It's all that you have is the inner emotional authority, because 8 also in numerology is about decisions. It's Saturn. And the beginning of Leo, the first decan is Saturn. So it's about the decisions we make with our inner strength. If we make a decision based off something that's a false strength, guess what we're going to get? A fucking long climb up to a fucking hill that is going to have nothing that we wanted, and then we're going to fall off that cliff. And that won't be fun on the way down.
Yeah, and you know, I have a theory too. I don't know if I've talked about this on here before, but my personal theory is that's one of the biggest reasons why typically women live longer than men.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, men are so programmed to swallow their emotions and bury them. Now, don't get it twisted. I am for stoicism.
Yeah.
But I think real true stoicism, there's an art that goes to it. I'm not one of these people that think that men should be emotional, whiny little bitches. But on the other hand, too, you don't just want to swallow your emotions and bury it. Because, like, for any men out there, I got news for you. You don't just shit that energy out like a turd.
No.
It ain't going nowhere. It's going to stay there and it's going to vibrate. And you're just going to keep swallowing more and burying it and swallowing more and burying it. You could take the most stoic man and the most emotionally immature woman. Guess who's going to die first? The dude.
The dude.
Because at least, while I don't condone that, she should definitely find a more mature way to release her emotions. At least she's releasing it. She's releasing it, and he's swallowing it and burying it, and then it turns into cancer, heart disease. So that's
right.
My theory.
And prune juice ain't gonna save the guy. I remember I tried that once. Like, is that shit work? I took a little bit. I was like, that was way too much. Holy shit! No wonder everybody fucking over 70s drinking prune juice. I was like, damn, this shit works. I wouldn't recommend going out and getting some prune juice right now and testing the theory. Trust me.
Oh yes, it works.
But it doesn't work. That's the thing. There is no outside thing that's just going to be like, oh, it'll let my emotions come out. Now, again, if it's spiritually based, though, like a healing, right? Yeah, that's what you and Leia do. Like, you know, like an energy healing, Reiki. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of other forms that can help that.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, I feel like the other part of this card is there is emotion being shown, right? But it also, because I was at the funeral for my best friend, and I was one of the persons at the Catholic Church that did a reading, right, in between the first and second reading. And it's support too, right? So there's an inner strength of like, whenever you're at a funeral or a wedding, we just did the Four of Wands, so it's kind of funny, a celebration.
Yeah.
You can hold space, but there's that strength. I'm holding space for his father. I'm holding space for his mom, all of his other friends, because we're all friends too, or his sister. And that's stoic. And showing the emotion is a stoic thing. It's a positive thing. Mm-hmm. Going to a funeral for your best friend and acting all hard is not manly.
Yeah.
Or if you even look at the best writers, theologists, there's emotion in it. So you're right. It's not being a whiny little bitch.
Yeah.
And the strength card is the opposite card of a whiny little bitch, right? The strength card is like, you know what? I almost feel like the maiden here is like, sees what that strength ahead has got to go through. Like, it's going to be a lot, but if you hold that determination and that will and that spiritual willpower within, that's positive, because there's also a karmic nature to this card with the 8 and the infinity, which, I feel like there's the other part of it where it's like, this has been divinely orchestrated, which we talk a lot about, seeing the signs where it just feels like, oh, okay. And knowing also that karma is going to play into the mix that will assist down the line to where it should be that infinite feeling of that inner will, because really strength is will, and it's the inner will. And I don't think it's free will either, except that's the weird part about this 8, the karmic, and the decision that has to be made. Like, the decision that's made is I'm setting a course with my willpower and strength, and whatever comes ahead, I'm nurtured from the divine, because really the maiden's the divine. It's the goddess. It's the feminine energy that's providing its nature, its natural guidance, and also its natural support that will always be there for you infinitely. Mm-hmm. If for 1 second you drop that in your life, not only do the tracks just disappear, but you fucking don't even know where you end up. You end up in a black hole at that point, And I think that's the hardest thing in spirituality to maintain, is remembering that what was the will that got you here? I see that with celebrities all the time. Like, they can forget about the reasons for doing it, get caught up in things, and then that's why their lives go into, craziness. You go from Michelle to Michael,
Yeah. That can be difficult to that can be difficult to keep,
under wraps.
It can be difficult to keep your mind on that track, when it comes to, the why. But I mean, really at the end of the day, like I was saying a minute ago, it's kind of all the same thing. When very similar, I'm going to go back to using my gym analogy again. When you're in the gym pumping weights, you're not becoming strong while you're pumping weights. You're tearing your muscle down. The strength is built while you're sleeping and healing. And that's the same thing with anything in life. Like, if you set a goal and you start going for that goal,
yes,
you're going to fuck up at some point. You're going to fall on your ass. You're going to do something stupid. You're going to make a mistake. And the strength comes when you get up and you learn from that mistake. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, you get up and you learn from that, and then eventually you're going to fall down and fuck up again. And then you get up and you learn from that, and you keep going, and then you keep repeating this process, and you turn into a wisdom snowball.
Yes.
And I think most of the people who are hiding from this strength, like I was saying in the last episode, they're afraid of failure, but it's not failure that they're afraid of. They're afraid of looking stupid.
Yes.
When it's like, no, one of these days you got to be able to look at the big picture. If you stay on the path that you're on and you refuse to give up, every time you fall down, you get back up and you keep going. One of these days, I promise you, you will be waving from the top of the mountain, and those people judging you will still be at the bottom of the mountain looking fucking stupid. And that's where real strength is built. You don't realize how strong you've become until after you've reached the top of the mountain and you look back at who you were.
Yes.
That's the best part, I think.
Yeah, and it's kind of like there's two decisions that are always made. Like the 7th card is the Chariot, where it's like, I get the spiritual energy, I see it all, I've got the Magician's Wand, I've got the guidance, I'm leaving the city that's blank and gray and boring, whatever that represents. And I'm on the spiritual journey and it's pulling me towards it. And then it's like you arrive at this moment like, okay, do you have the will? You know, like there's that. Now that's the second big decision of life. Because, you know, it's exciting to be like, I'm going to go down this path of my life. It's another when it comes to doing it. And this is the moment when it gets real. Like the strength card is like, it's fucking real, motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and unfortunately, this is usually where a lot of people, I think, fail in the spiritual journey. Or even in their awakening experience, right? It's like, it's great to be awake. And then it's just really high and exciting. I'm seeing numbers and synchronicities. And I'm, oh my God. And then, oh my God, I have to like live this life full time. Because there comes the fucking dark showing to try to distract you. Like, you want to come and do this that takes you away from that? But my friends, the friends that think you're crazy down this road, you know, like all these little things start showing up. And this is that card that's like, no, do you have the will to say no? You know, strength to me is more no's than yeses.
Oh, yeah.
I think that the Chariot's the yes, the strength's the no to anything that's against that inner love. And that's like so it's not, it's like there's a protective element too about a lion, right? And he's protecting her in many ways too. The feminine, the beauty, the nature. So there is something about, you make a choice, that's one thing, but the choice in which you make about the divine choice itself is within yourself and whether or not you're going to have that power to stay on that course. I think that that's unfortunately where a lot of people get mixed up, you know? And it's an infinite choice. It's almost like we're choosing our realities in this card too. Because the reality to break out of the matrix is not one that's easy. But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It takes strength, it takes will, it takes confidence, but it takes it in a tame way too. You're not going to go beat the Matrix by fucking running at it with a baseball bat.
Oh yeah, I tell that. I say that all the time. I'm glad you said that. That's one thing that I tell, especially whenever I do videos for, like sometimes I'll say, you know, this is a message to my starseed brothers and sisters or my volunteer brothers and sisters. You're not going to come in here and bulldoze this 3D human game to the ground overnight. I think that's what a lot of people think they're going to do. They're going to come in and they're going to tear the Matrix down. It's like, no, you ain't. The long-term humans who have been building this game have been building this game, and there has been so much more put into building this game than you could possibly wrap your little human brain around. And breaking out of the Matrix sounds cool when you hear people talking about it on the internet. Break out of the Matrix, which, don't get it twisted, I'm glad that that's becoming cool nowadays. But still, I think people don't really understand how scary and lonely it can be. Because once you start making a frequency change, once you start taking a different path, everybody in your life is going to be looking at you like, what the hell's wrong with you? That's how you know you're making a frequency change. You will. I tell everybody this. This is one of the hard, and matter of fact, I talked about this in one of my episodes of Mastering the Matrix on High Vibe. You will experience separations from at least one, if you're lucky, person who's really close to you in your life.
A karmic connection.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Like it'll start getting weird, you know, and you'll just wake up one day and the energy will be different between you, and it could be your mom, could be your dad, could be your brother. And one of the things that I see, especially on the manifestation path, but it's really on the spiritual path in general, that holds people and traps people in one place so that they're not making any progress, is as they start moving up, the energetic connection between them and somebody who's very close to them in their life, it starts pulling further and further apart. And they grab and they cling to it because they're afraid to separate from that person. Well, you're tying yourself to a boat anchor. That person, most people never change frequencies. That's just a fact. I wish it wasn't that way, and hopefully one day we'll make it so it's not that way. But as of right now, most people don't change frequencies. We're born into this game. We're programmed for the first 7 years of our life. That's the frequency you're programmed on. Most people stay there their whole life.
Yeah.
And I got news for you. If you want to experience something different in this life, you're going to have to change your frequency. Most people are not going to do that. So if the two of you are down here on this frequency and you start moving up this way, you're going to have to let them go. That's just all there is to it.
Because really, I think this card represents a natural frequency, and maintaining that natural frequency. And I think that's what's interesting is because this is the Leo card, so there is, and I'll admit, I'm a full Leo. You know what I mean? Like all the way. We love attention. We love the limelight, which this card shows the lion's enjoying getting pet. Oh, we love getting pet. We love getting our ego stroked. But when it's from the natural divine, relationships, frequencies, but also just the divine itself, like you did it. You move to the next place. You're in the spiritual, like, ooh, that's a great feeling. But that's can be the hardest part of this card, of that fake strength, right? It kind of reminds me, like I do a show with Dylan from last year, and we were talking about this like false sacral that's been coming around, and it's like it's one thing to try and look sexy and all that, but like there's definitely like been some sort of auric frequency shift in the sexual energies as well, right? Where it's like unnatural, and doing it for just monetary gain, right? And then actually in real life, usually those people don't even want that connection.
Yeah.
That it reminds me of that, where it's like, I want to, especially if you're doing this fucking spiritual work for clout. If you're doing it for clout, it's not going to work out good. That's Leo's number one lesson in life. It's like, sorry, like it's got to be natural love.
Yeah.
You know, people don't love you either if you're not real and genuine. That's the other part of this card, is being genuine, which I know we're already going to walk down that rabbit hole with this card, with the genuineness, because you know there's a transparency of a true vulnerability with strength, right? Like that this lion's willing to show its excitement and its willpower, but there's also the yearning, and not a negative yearning, but for like some sort of confirmation of that it's going to be okay too, and that spirit can give. Whereas I think a good way when you bring up frequency matches, especially in relationships, is that's always that moment when people who's not supporting you, who's not really wanting you to go do this spiritual thing, who's wanting to throw in some matrix-based situation and ego identity-based fucking crazy-ass manic idea, like, let's go to a spiritual retreat. No, I don't want to go there. Let's go to the bar and drink all night. That's what I want. You know, it's like, wait, what? Like,
that's a test.
It's a weird test.
Yeah. And you'll be faced with those, the whole spiritual path. Now, I'm not saying go cut your friends and family out of your life.
Correct.
You know? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is most people, now I'm trying to think. I think I might have met one or two people who have, a very supportive family. But I mean, there's, like I said, at least one person. When you're down there at that low place, you start moving up out of that, and they're going to say, no, motherfucker, try to pull you back down. And that's a test. That is a test. I mean,
and it's kind of wired in our culture, it's like, especially like in, we'll say American society, you get out of high school, or we could even take kids who decide, I don't want to be in high school anymore. That's like probably the biggest wire. Like, no. Like everybody, including the school, the police, everybody is on top of you. Like, you must fucking do this, So that you don't really have any support. I'm not saying don't do that shit, but I'm just saying, like, that's an interesting way to look how the matrix works really young on us. But especially when you get out of high school, right? It's like, okay, you're going to either go to college or you're going to have a job. There's no other alternative place for you to get support from anybody. No, nobody's saying, like, why don't you just go figure it out and see what happens?
Yeah.
Like, it becomes like this place, especially for spirituality, it's kind of like, no. And if you want to live under this roof, you have to either be in school or have a job. Or you got to go figure it out yourself. Or there's always that third alternative, like me, and join the military. Well, at least they're going to provide housing, and they're going to give me money, and I'm going to go serve my country. Okay, great. Like they kind of throw these really shitty... I would say the job has the more positive outcome because you can at least follow some talent or skill. But again, it's usually like doing something that you don't want to do, and you're going to have that strength to realize. And unfortunately, usually at that age, you're not really that clear on where it's all going, right? So I think that's a good way to look at the family situation, because those family dynamics of like, well, who's going to watch grandma? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? We don't do that in this family. We're all part of this religion or whatever. Like it becomes very, oh, you're dating that type of guy? You know, I see that because I was that guy. You know what I mean? He doesn't have a college education.
Yeah.
He fucking smokes cigarettes. He does astrology. You know, like, oh, man, I've heard that one.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, nice meeting y'all.
If you look at it, though, take a look at the population of America, at least. I don't know about the other countries. But if you take a look at the people who are successful, take the successful people. The overwhelming majority of them don't fall into that matrix fucking trap.
Not at all.
I think of all the people I know who are genuinely successful, I'm talking 6-7 figure earners, self-made CEOs and businessmen and women, they're not successful because of their fucking college degree. The majority of them don't even have a college degree.
They actually don't. That's actually a fact.
Yeah. And every self-made successful person that I've followed has a story similar to mine.
Yeah.
Dude, I got a GED. I spent 1 semester in high school, and I was that kid. I was so buck wild crazy. On the very last day of the first semester of high school, I'm being escorted out in handcuffs and put in a cop car. They kicked me out. In my high school, they used to, all the teachers, I heard this later on, that all the teachers would gather after school off the clock to figure out how to deal with Rich Lopp. They would hold meetings to try to figure out how to deal with my crazy
What's
ass.
up with Richmond?
Richmond, yeah. Figure out how to deal with my...
Probably used your full name.
Probably.
Richmond Lopp.
Yeah. And I went ahead and I got my GED, and I got my GED at age 17, and I was roaming the streets, smoking crack, doing drugs, going buck wild crazy. And, you know, I was I was set up to be a statistic.
Right.
And I'm not saying do this by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not saying go do that. What I'm saying is if you take a look at the population and look at the people who are the most successful, you know, those of us who are self-made and came up from nothing, we all have a very similar story. Everybody I know that studied their ass off, got a college degree, a tiny fraction of them, I'm talking maybe 5% of them, are doing very well.
I agree. I mean, it reminds me of like RFK running for president right now. His uncle was our president, JFK, who was the youngest president ever. He was a stat that wasn't supposed to happen. He was too young. He was a Catholic, right? So there's always the stigmas of the identification part. But it's that strength that can get you no matter what those stigmas are to get through. So he becomes the president, and then, of course, he doesn't want to go to war. He doesn't want to do all this shit. This motherfucker gets assassinated. It's pretty fucking clear. I've actually been to the fucking grassy knoll myself just to see. That motherfucker was shot from the grassy knoll or something else, not from fucking upstairs in the fucking window, right? Now you have his nephew running for president, and the second he runs, the whole media, he's a fucking misinformation. This guy's a fucking Kennedy who actually was in the White House when his fucking uncle fucking became fucking president. You know what I mean? And remembers it. It wasn't like he was 2. He was 7. You remember that kind of shit. Right? And is out there speaking truth. And the whole fucking, what I think is the funniest is even the left, which he represents, Democrats. No, he's horrible. Over 1 or 2 little situations about fucking health. And how people are getting their rights taken away. But that's that strength that he's got to fucking do it. I just watched last night, he was just on Bill Maher's podcast. And I was fucking stoked to see Bill Maher fucking go to bat for him. And that's how you know when you have Bill Maher, who's of course a Democrat, but he's not extreme left. He's been calling shit out. He's another one that I've been seeing like, damn, that takes balls in life. Sometimes the strength card, I think, feels... Whether you're at school and something's not going right and you have to stand up for truth, there's a strength about truth. You know, people talk about truth, but what comes before truth is strength.
Yeah.
And it's the strength to stand up against what's not divine. And that is what is truth, is the willpower and the strength to be and see that something's not natural.
Mm-hmm.
So this card can go in a lot of ways, but I think that touches on that success, right? Like anybody who's successful goes, I'm doing something because I have the will to do it because there's something natural about this energy I'm connecting to frequency-wise, and there's something not right about most to all of this other frequency ranges that are just playing fucking noise, and it's like white noise, and how everybody's listening to white noise when they go to sleep now, right? It's like tune out into our fucking station, you know, like put on fucking nature. I know that one triggers a lot of people.
Well, that's weird,
but,
because my grandfather, and I totally forgot about this. You just triggered a memory. My grandpa had this weird little machine that he would go to sleep to every night that was white noise. And I never understood how the hell that thing put him to sleep. It was just this weird old 1970s little box with a dial on it. And
so he had the OG original.
Yeah, he would turn it on and it would go... And I'm like, God damn, that is the most annoying fucking sound I've ever heard in my life. That's white noise? Is that...
Yeah, I mean, it's on your iPhones now and everything. That's the crazy part. Like, you could, like, literally listen to white fucking noise on your fucking iPhone. Like, if it was a normal thing. Like, you go on speaker, and then you go to background noises and sounds, and look, they have dark noise with media, and you could turn that bitch... Like, oh, hold on, fucker. I don't want to put... Well, this is could, like, with the white noise in the background, right? Hold on. I'll fucking... That's so funny. I have to pause this. But yeah, like... Now, my whole point about this is, if you were to be in the Matrix like in Neo and you go to the mainframe computer, people fall asleep to the sound of the white noise of the Matrix itself. Because in life, willpower isn't a static noise. It's got a lot of... There's an energetic feeling to it, not a deadness. Not a deadness, not just like a static. It's so weird, static. Like, you know, like we're talking about frequencies. If you get static on the fucking radio, you're not connected to anything.
Yeah.
And it's weird that it became so popular in this world to become in a place to where we live in a world now that people are more satisfied with staying stuck in this. They have balanced, bright, dark noise, but then you can listen to like ocean, which still kind of, and then rain and stream. Now, if I were to choose of them all, I would probably pick stream. That sounds the most natural to me.
Yeah.
But still, it also is the weirdness that it's false stream because it ain't the real shit. So I think that's what's kind of weird about strength is it's got to be real.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're wanting to go be a great fucking fisherman, I'm sorry, but being it on VR is probably not the way to go. If you want to go be in the military and kill people, your Call of Duty on fucking Xbox is not, or your PC on, I know you motherfuckers, I'm not stupid. Fucking, that's not making you strong.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's like Guitar Hero too. Same thing.
Oh shit!
I'm a real guitar player.
I know you are.
And all of my buddies, I can remember, they would be good at this. Back when I was like 18, they would plug their little plastic guitar up, and these little motherfuckers would. And I'm like, oh my god! They would hand it to me because they knew I could play guitar, and I sucked at that. And they're like, oh my god, how do you suck at that? And I'm like, this is not a fucking guitar. So like all these people would be pushing fucking buttons on this little plastic piece of shit thinking that they're a guitar player, and it's like, that's not a fucking guitar. Remember how we talked a couple episodes ago about how they're trying to unwire the talent out of people?
Yes.
Like there are no talented musicians anymore, like at all. I have a theory that I haven't really talked about, and I think that was planned a while back.
Well, you just see that they approved that musicians for a Grammy can use AI technology now?
No, I didn't see that. That didn't surprise me, though. That does not surprise me. I mean, because nowadays you take a look at it. I've always wondered, how does this work? Like, all of a sudden, everybody is a fan of the same song. How does that work? They just say, this is what you're going to listen to. And they go, this is what I'm going to listen to. And just everybody just listens to it. I've never understood that. Like, musicians and songs that there's no talent put into it. There's no thought put into it. When I listen to it, it makes my brain go numb. But everybody loves it. How does some of these musicians get famous? Because whoever runs that system just says, okay, you are going to rap these lyrics and I'm going to blast it all over the place and the public is going to love it.
Right.
And the public is just like, I love it. You know?
Well, they're kind of like frequency controlled to like it. 1, 2, orchestras, the beginning of music went on. There was no, okay, let's make a 3-minute song. Like, there was no time as far as like, there's musical timing and then there's like matrix timing, right? So you listen to Mozart, you listen to Bach, you listen to anybody that has some fucking talent and being a composer and getting all is going to write music that just, there is no, whenever it feels like there is no law to it except for the divine musical law. Same thing with a true guitarist, right? When they go live, the last thing they want to do is just play the song. They want to fucking do that fucking guitar solo with no barriers or boundaries or laws, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like that's the problem, is that when people get into this spiritual world, especially the music aspect, they're too afraid to go see, well, what's this band I haven't heard of yet? Because they want to know the lyrics of the song to go to a concert. Like being a DJ, like that's the thing you learn as a DJ is like, wow, depending on the place, 90% of the time, unless it's actually for people who want to go genuinely like go like, I like this DJ, or I just want to go hear the music I haven't heard, right? It's like, I haven't heard that and I'm going to go with the flow with it. 90% of the time, there's always that person, I have a request. Can I hear blah, blah, blah? Right? It is because I'm in the matrix and I'm only comfortable with that noise. I don't know what you're playing. It's not cool because it didn't come out of my fucking Spotify, top 100 hits.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in that world now, but you know. So that's where that underground thing comes in. We talked how rock's underground now, and it's like, it's because it's like you said, it takes talent.
Yeah.
But I think it's because people have lost the ability to understand let others express themselves fully that aren't under the control of how to express themselves, which 95% of the music is controlled. Not only just the music, but the frequency and how they put the music out.
Mm-hmm. And every industry, just the other day, I was complaining about clothes. This is another one that baffles me. Like, do you know where I buy the majority of my clothes? Fucking Goodwill.
Mine's Kohl's.
The only thing expensive I have on right now.
I'm more bougie, Kohl's, bro.
Well, I have a $2,000 watch on right now, but other than that, the majority of my stuff is Goodwill stuff. You know why? Because when I go to like Kohl's or any other place, to JCPenney or whatever,
they're out of business.
It's they just say, okay, this is what everybody's going to wear. And I'm like, I'm not with that style.
Right.
What would they just say? Okay, we're going to put these clothes on the shelf. They stick it on a fucking celebrity model and they say, you're going to wear this and you're going to love it. And they say, oh, no, we got to wear this. And now everybody just jumps on that train and starts wearing these stupid looking clothes. Just
all hyped up, yeah.
How what I can't figure out is, where does that start? Like, just within the past 10 years, the men's style of clothes, pants, shirts, and everything has completely changed. How do they get it to change? How does that work? I don't understand how this matrix works. Like,
I could tell you, I used to do a radio show with my ex way back in the day. And when Abercrombie and Finch started putting these male models with no shirts on in front of the stores, I remember reported on this. This is like 2011. I went, we're fucked. I actually have the receipts of this show on one of my old YouTubes. Like, they start making it to where it's like, oh, wow, like, you know, like, I guess I should go here because there's a male model with no shirt on out front. And then I don't know if you know, at those stores, they used to fucking pump fucking cologne and shit and out of the fucking stores. So when you would walk by, they would use all the intoxicating aspects of, like, for the women, be like, oh, there's a guy look at his app. Oh my God, that smells good. Let's walk in here. Or like Victoria's Secret, the angels, wasn't about the women, except for, oh, it'd be nice to look like her. It was about the men.
Yeah.
That are going to buy, like, so many men walk into Victoria's Secret and go buy shit for women in there. Like, well, I think you'd look good in this color with this lace, right? So it's become kind of like those were the old tactics. The new tactics, I'll be honest, TikTok and all these fucking things now out there, right? Of like, and I think that people, though, have kind of switched now to where they're like, you know what, I'm going to just kind of do what I want more. But you still see it. I think clothes have kind of like become into a weird space. Like, they used to be fashion shows, right? It was like, oh my gosh. And that's why, you know, Zoolander was such a good, like, mock of that. You know, it was just kind of like, you know, the look and how just that whole thing and the idea of the fashion model and whoever the designer is. But again, is that your own will? Is that what you really want? And there's nothing wrong with that. If you love something like that, like there's like certain things I love in life that I'm like, fuck, you know, I love it, but I'm willing to always switch to whatever the love feels like. If like, we were having a Chevy and Ford conversation. I used to love Chevy. I've had so many Chevys and I'm a Ford guy now because I just had so many problems. All my Chevys broke down. All of them. Even my GMCs, even when I was like, no, I'm going GMC this time. Wheel bearings, fucking this, fucking man, it's just like, fuck. And my dad worked for Chevy for years. So it becomes to where it's like, I think we can shift in these places, but I do feel that the underlying aspect is, man, is it easy right now to get caught up into something that becomes feeling like a trend that's off your own divine path? Because I feel like Strength Card is a path. And it's that energy of, I'm going on this path and it's a decision. I was going to bring up the one last thing about, you know, so it's like, okay, you go to Kohl's, but it's like vintage clothing, like a vintage clothing store with like a uniqueness, something that's different, something that you put together yourself. You know, it's like we put our own journeys together ourselves. There is no bento box for fucking spirituality. Of like, and the people you tried in spirituality to do that. Here's your wish candle with a crystal, with fucking some sage, with a tarot deck. You're spiritual now. I'm like, they just stole the bento box idea from the Japanese of like, here's your bento box with your sushi and here you go. I think that's Japanese.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was just wondering. I mean, because that's always blown my mind because I've always been that kind of person that, and I don't mean to be this way because I know that some people try to be this way because they think it's cool. But like, I'm kind of the opposite. When you're born fucking weird like me, like I was born a fucking weirdo. And when you're born weird, being weird's not cool.
Right.
You would give anything to know what it feels like to fit in. And I've just always like, now not so much, I don't really care anymore. But especially like when I was in my 20s, I would try everything in the world. How the fuck do you keep up? How do I just wake up one morning and all of a sudden everybody's doing the same thing? Like, what did I miss? You open up social media, all of a sudden everybody's talking about the same thing. It's like, so how does this work? Everybody just starts doing or talking about the same thing and I'm supposed to just jump in there with it? Like, hey, I'm right in there with you. Right. Is that the way it works? I don't even know.
I mean, it's kind of like toilet paper. Like, what made everybody go to toilet paper to be used? Right? Like, I know they weren't using that shit 150 years ago. What were they using? They weren't using toilet paper. Like, it makes people think, right? Like most people think, oh yeah, they were using toilet paper without. Wait, no, they weren't. What were the Egyptians using? 3 seashells? Like, you know, that's from Demolition Man. But it's just like, that's where I think you bring up a good point. But this is also a very Leo Aquarius conversation because only Leo and Aquarius deal with this energy of being cool, understanding trends, and knowing how to embody it. That's the one, that common understanding of Leo Aquarius. Everything else doesn't represent cool or exciting or fun in that kind of a sense of trends, life, love, and passions. It doesn't. You know? So it's like, that's the weird thing that Leo and Aquarius learned is like, I used to think that was cool. Fuck. or I'm going to go do what nobody's doing and I'm cool with that. And that's the true Leo Aquarius energy is like, I'm going to go be my unique self. Like that's really what the biggest strength of all spirituality is. The biggest decision of your life is I'm going to be my unique self 100%. And I don't give a fuck if people don't like what I'm wearing or if they don't like how I do my hair or they don't like how I speak or they don't like how, whatever it might be. If I don't shave my unibrow fucking on the right day, which I do, I'm not going to pluck that shit. Who has time for that shit? I don't care if it goes faster. Like, you know, it's one of those things to where it's like learning how to find your own unique code is not a search. It is learning to accept it and be it. You don't find yourself. You've already been found.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part for people is like, and we all go through there. I mean, I remember especially, man, 15, 16 years old, puberty, male. Fuck, talk about chasing everything. Oh my God, everybody's going to this party. It's supposed to be the coolest thing. Did you hear who's going to be there? It's like American Pie, the movie, you know? Yeah. But then you see what happened over the last 3 years. It's like, what the fuck? That was how you knew how fast, if you really want to know the answer to the clothes or the music or whatever, it's like, if they got, like, well, not everybody, but the majority of the world to fall for this shit and stay 6 feet apart and fucking put on a mask and fucking take an experiment without knowing the repercussions and you can't sue them and there's no ingredients. Trust us.
Yeah.
Fuck. And it happened so fast. You know, my first date with Sophia was December 2020 on the 7th. California had a 10 p.m. curfew, but there was no law. The cops, you wouldn't go to jail, but people followed it. Do you think her and I went on our first date and didn't go out past curfew? Fuck yeah, we did. So it's like, you know, and I remember we were the only car in all these freeways.
Really?
Yeah. And then that was the irony, right? So you want to talk about that success aspect? In 2020, you can look it up all across the more cities that have people with money. It was the first time in history that the tickets were just from people with Lamborghinis, sport cars, fucking doing over 100 miles an hour just because nobody was on the freeway and they're like, fuck yeah, this is my fucking racetrack, baby. You know?
Yeah.
So why were all the successful people, and I always say, wherever there was money, there was no COVID. If you go into a rich community, nobody wears masks. If you go into a rich community, nobody was doing any of that shit. Mm-hmm. Because there is something to say about people who know the abundance within themselves. Mm-hmm. People get triggered by rich as being like, you're a piece of shit because you make money. It's like, no. If you know who you are and you know the abundance of yourself, when you get to something like if you have a beautiful house, you have a beautiful car, a beautiful family, a beautiful life, we'll just call it a life, are you really going to let the television and Anderson Cooper and all these crazy motherfuckers in the world tell you to say, stop your life? No. You're going to be like, no, I'm going to still live this life. Fuck you.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting is the people who said fuck you to it are the people who have abundance in themselves. Like, if they fucking arrest me, I don't give a fuck. And if they say they're going to kill me, I won't take that fucking shot. Kill me. Mm-hmm. Kill me.
Oh, yeah.
That's fucking strength. And you know what? None of that happened. You know why? Because just enough of us have been holding that line. And you still have to hold it. You can't let it go. Because that's the other part of the strength card is like, I've made it. We'll use the example of the last 3 years. We've made it. They didn't fucking, you know, they had to retract all their shit because it was all a lie. That doesn't mean that they ain't going to come back and still try and do shit.
No, they're going to do something.
You know what I mean?
They're going to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel it coming. And, I mean, honestly, I'm waiting for it because I had the same mentality as you. Like, I mean, and it kind of sucked for me, too, because it was like all that shit popped off right when I finally started experiencing success for the first time in my life. And I'm like, damn it, man. If this would have happened 3-4 years ago, I wouldn't have cared. But now I can actually enjoy this life.
Right.
And they're going to pull this shit. But even at that, I know the plan. I was warned about the plan beforehand.
Right.
So take it all away. Fuck that shot. Take it all away. I'll go live in the fucking woods. I've done it before.
Right.
You know? So, yeah. But I don't think it's over.
But, you know, what was funny was because so many people chose to not want to be successful and do the opposite. Be like, I'm so happy. I'll take government money and I'll just sit in my house and watch Netflix and buy everything on Amazon to make my place look more comfortable. Right? Those of us who had the will to still be successful became extremely successful and are still successful through this. That's what's interesting is all these corporations right now that are all zombie corps because they've been pumped up with fake money from the Fed to keep them up in their stocks and in buybacks and all this shit, right? So it's all a false front, you know what I mean? Like, they sent all their employees home, paid them all, took more government money. So it's a zombie corp, meaning that they don't make money, that they're based off all these fucking money that's injected to keep it alive. Do you think they're going to stay successful through the next couple of years here? No, it's all going to come crashing down because they got lazy. They didn't want to stay on their path and they didn't have the strength to say no. It was the companies that had the strength to say no, like UFC, which is the most, you know, weird thing that Dana White, out of all the first like big corporate kind of things in the world, said, fuck, we ain't following your shit. We're going to go find an island and we're going to send fighters there and we're not going to do any of this COVID shit. And that's what they did. And you know how much money they made? So much because that was the only sports game on. Every other sports team fucking went, bye-bye, MLB, NBA. Everybody just went, no, we're not doing shit. UFC went, Dana White's like, fuck these motherfuckers. I'm going to go to this island and we're going to have fights there. And look what happened. There was nothing on, so what did people do? I'm going to watch UFC. It doesn't matter what the moment is. Your strength will always be called on to do the right. It's doing the righteous thing too. Being a Leo is you have to be righteous. In order to be in love, you have to be in love with yourself and you have to never, ever, ever compromise the love of yourself ever. Period. There's no way. I don't give a fuck if I've been in prison. I know you've been to jail too. Like I've been there. So I don't care. I will go back if you're going to try and take away my freedom or my truth or my happiness when I'm not breaking any laws. That's the craziest part. When I'm not breaking any laws, you're the one who's breaking the law. We're in a world right now that so many people are so fucking afraid and people are scared. And that's the weird thing is people go, how are we going to stop this? Well, stop being so fucking afraid. The strength card also is the other side that I like talking about more is the will and the strength. Like, fuck, you ain't doing that shit because it's not part of love. But people take that as a trigger, like, oh my God, how egotistical. That's what they tried to use on all of us that didn't follow this program either. Like, hey, you don't care about others. No, because you're fucking taking an experiment that's causing fucking massive variance to multiply. But if you would have told them that at the beginning, they would have been like, yeah, they tried to say that we were the ones that were creating the variance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it should have been common sense.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
the thing.
Exactly.
That's what blew my mind was that Harvard graduates let their common sense fly out the window. This isn't rocket science. This is common fucking sense. And I mean, I was raised by a nurse. So, like, when it comes to medical and whatnot, right, I probably had a little bit more exposure than your average person. But to me, I mean, it's like, I love the meme that would get shared around social media where it showed this dude standing up outside. He was just standing outside with a seatbelt on. And it said, the CDC is now recommending that you wear a seatbelt outside your car. Yeah. You know, and that's it right there. It's like, this is common sense. But hopefully, though, my thought is, even though I'm like 98 to 99% sure that within this next year and a half, they're going to pull something else. Hopefully, the people who stayed scared throughout this past 3 years, now they have something to look back on. Maybe, hopefully, they have a fucking backbone by now. Like, are you really going to let them do it again? Call me naive, but I kind of lean towards the idea that maybe, hopefully, the population learns something.
I mean, I hope so, because to me, it's like very easy to see the very probable events right at this moment. Like,
yeah.
Well, the money's being taken away because of what happened through our mistakes. They won't say that though. Over the last 3 years, in our plan, and now we need to go to war, and you need to be part of it. You are not a patriot because you won't fight for this country. There's a fucking submarine sinking at the Titanic. All of you need to jump into the water, and I don't care if it's thousands of feet down. You're just going to have to swim and hold your breath. It's a joke of what just happened.
Yeah.
That's how neurotic. And so when I think of the strength card, it's like there's consistencies. The CDC, of course, has been a great place for a while. It doesn't mean it always is going to be. Right? Like if there's fucking crazy fucking malaria fucking going on in an area fucking with a bunch of mosquitoes in the past, like, yeah, they're going to warn you about that shit before you go to that country. And you should probably be prepared. Right? But like, that doesn't mean if the only thing that is constant and natural is the divine universe, not these organizations, not these government entities or anything outside in the matrix is not going to be constant. It could shape shift. It's that strength to see that and to be like, well, they're always reliable. It's like, yeah, sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like everything's always reliable. Yeah, right. You know, I remember being in school in second grade and, you know, you're used to having the same teacher through the whole year. She got really sick. So we had subs for 80% of my whole second grade. Subs. And I remember being like, is she ever coming back? And every sub would leave after like a week, be like, no, I don't know. I don't know the answer. And then they'd freak out and leave, and the next one would come in. Right? So it's like people have this idea of, well, it'll always be there. And it'll always be that way. And it's like, no, it will never always be that way. The only constant is that willpower and that strength in yourself to hold the line no matter how much weird shit's going on. If it's unnatural, don't do it. Don't do it. But people want to grab to that, like they want to grab onto a grab handle if they were to see the other side of that grab handle, it's just air. It's just like they create the feeling of just, well, at least I'm holding on to something, even though, or it could be on the back of a camel running into a fucking crazy ass, fucking gnarly ass situation that is running into a big warehouse that says Pfizer on the top of it.
Well, I mean, if you think about how they got people to that point, it started generations ago. Like, I was raised by my grandparents, and you want to talk about, I was raised in a real hardcore Republican, Christian, church-going household, and about as hardcore as it gets. And so I got to see and understand how this matrix mentality to trust the grab handle, like how that was put into place. It was they got us, they got everybody to trust them over just a period of 2 or 3 generations. And now leading up to this point, I feel like, again, call me naive, I may be, but from what I'm seeing, I'm kind of feeling like there might be a good force overseeing this that is not going to come in and infringe on free will, but is going to allow things to happen in such a way that doesn't mean that they're going to come in and save us. They're going to allow the people who are brainwashed enough to fall into it. People are going to die. It's going to happen because they can't infringe on free will. They can't come in and stop it. But they are going to allow things to play out in such a way that those of us who are awakened to, true divine spirit, who know who we are as divine beings, and maybe even some people who have been on the fence, because they're going to be able to see the things that have been happening, and they're going to be able to see, oh, okay, well, maybe that was all just a big illusion. And I'm feeling like the unfolding of events, if you look at how they've been doing it for the past 3 years. I was talking to Leah on the drive up here about how, have you noticed like all the shit they was pulling 3 years ago, like the race card and the battle of the sexes, and now it's the transgender thing.
Right.
And it seems like, if you notice, they drop some bait in the pond and then the public is on it. And then they get tired of it. And it seems like people are awakening up out of this. Then they drop the next thing, and then everybody's on it. And then it runs its course and everybody awakens. And I've been noticing this. I've been seeing this happen over the last 3 years. And I'm thinking that they're letting it play out like this on purpose. here's my theory, and I was telling my wife this on the ride up here, that I'm thinking that, you know what I think is coming next? Transgender people who have been seriously mutilated and injured speaking out.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would say that that's coming out. But what I would like to say is that in hunting, with a hunting dog, you train it with a scent, and then you give it a red herring so it knows not to follow that red herring, because if it follows it, then it is off the scent trail of what to hunt, right? I feel like all these like things are throwing in this bait is like blood in jaws, and so it's a red herring. So it gets people to go over here when really they're just continuing doing all these things. You know, because it's like all these things really are not. They're all going to come back to everybody are accepting of people and are chill with people, and nobody really cares about all this shit. You know what I mean? Like that. It's again the willpower of consent, the decision that the eight has to make. Like you're the one consenting to all these things. So I feel like, but I think you're right that in that cesspool of blood that they keep chumming out fucking from the Jaws boat, just like, here you go. And everybody's just like, oh, yeah. It's like, here they are doing digital ID. Here's the WHO saying we're doing a worldwide certification that's digital using the EU system. It's just trickling with all these little things that they just keep. Or now in America, lab grown meat is now legal. That was just over this last week, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, what's the lab of? I mean, we already know where it was exposed by James O'Keefe when he was with Project Veritas, his own company. Not anymore, but that there's aborted baby fetuses in the fucking shots, right? And the emails from Pfizer's fucking top execs saying it. And don't put that out to the public. And if the press asks about it, just avoid. So when you say lab-grown meat, you were just talking about transmutilation.
Yeah.
Is that in the meat? It's what's for dinner.
Yeah. Yeah, at some point, though.
Think about that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there's going to be a lot of lives lost. A lot. I don't know, though. I am really feeling like somehow, some way, we're going to get through this shit, you know? Somehow, some way.
Somehow, some way. We're going to get through it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
it's a little bit, it's not crunchy.
Just enough of us, like you said a minute ago, just enough of us held that line. And I think just enough of us are going to continue holding the line. And again, yeah, that's this energy right here. It's awakening that energy in a lot of people, I think. And for those that it's not, that's where people like me and you come in, who are breaking the mold of the spiritual community. Right. And hoping my goal, like I've said, is to say something spiritual to that one person who's not spiritual at all. And it's like, oh, well, I can fucking apply that to my life. To me, that's true spirituality.
Yeah, and I feel true spirituality, too, is that the divine's going to comfort you more than any external source, period. We have beautiful periods in our life where we have friends, we have lovers, we have clothes, we have money, we have all these things that will comfort us. But the only thing the strength card has at the end of the day is the divine. That's kind of a message to all tarot cards, if you notice. It's like the only thing that really it's about you and that divine nature of understanding it, right? That always is. So our ultimate strength comes from that acceptance, but also it's not just acceptance, it also is giving us that love back. This is the only card where the divine and the love from the universe is actually an equal share back. The lion is putting his head up to the divine is wrapping her hands around his head. And so, I feel like that's where it's like people have to get back to, is the understanding of like, no matter what happens, I went through the biggest high-low moment of my life within 48 hours. The death of my best friend, his funeral, speaking at it, seeing all the friends, comforting me, people crying and crying and crying myself, and then wiping my tears and driving home exhausted and putting beds together and shit and having my in-laws come and everything. And then boom, you guys were at my baby shower. Bright white, everything's good, and we're having a baby. Like, talk about bipolar to the max. But that's the whole thing, is that through all those things, it doesn't matter what's going on. It's the strength to be able to be like, all right, I got to shift into this mode, because the centric understanding of being in aligned with your divine self and that willpower is everything. Everything to get you anywhere. And honestly, people love infinity. I have an infinity tattooed on my fucking left ass cheek. I didn't want to put it on my back, exactly, because then it would have been a tramp stamp. That's for my butterfly. So it's like, okay, that's great. But do you understand what that infinite cycle is? It's that cycle between you and the universe, and how you're writing that together. And if we think it's infinite, but and in all stories and in all things, that 8 can inverse and flop itself over back to a 0. And it can pop and go into another one day. And so we don't sometimes want to be stuck in the infinite timeline either, because there is other timelines that are shifting at the same time. And it's the will to understand that and make sure that you're on your own timeline. If we want to go into timelines with this, it's like, you're the one who has the strength and the will to be on a timeline or not. It's not this timeline's just showing up to me while I kick my shoes up and I don't have any fucking definition. Because the other thing about strength is it's defined. It's not like the lion decided to, and this isn't a trans thing, right? It didn't decide to be a lamb, it's a lion. So, it's like, you can't just kind of like, well, I'll shift when I get there. Like, there is no shifting. It's that you've already shifted and you're holding the line. That's the fixed nature, as you would understand. And that's what being a fixed sign is. And the things that you don't ever want to lose in your life is that fixed energy of Taurus, of your self-worth, or Leo, your love and the divine, and Scorpio, your passions and your desires that are in alignment with the divine, and Aquarius, how to put it all together and intellectualize and connect to all those frequencies and forces and understand how to bring it all into one at the same time. Those are the 4 fixed signs. That's why they're all over the tarot. I mean, nothing against other signs out there, because you all get a card through the major arcana, but when it gets to like always these major moments, it's all 4 fixed signs. And so when you get a fixed sign card, like the star card being the Aquarius one, the strength one, they're both the same. It's weird because, sure, in the star card, it's alone but with the stars. It's alone but with the divine. It's not like she's actually really there. It's just the divine nature and the infinity that's, in many ways, just like feeling it and feeling the love of the sunshine. It's the opposite night and day, and so that's all it really is. It's all the same shit. It's just understanding it in different ways. And I feel like that's where people have lost their courage of like, and they think they've got it. So I want to finish with that whole tramp stamp thing. I've got an infinity on my left ass cheek. So, but when it comes to the decision in front of me in my life, I'm going to not pick that divine way. When I'm going to do this thing, I don't like to do it. It goes against my spiritual nature, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's like that infinity symbol is now turning that left ass cheek into an ass. And actually, John Dee used to call it a tyrant. The worst thing in the world to end into the abyss, into emptiness, into especially to where you get into that abyss of what an abyss is of course an empty space, but it is all through a vice, deception, is when we're a tyrant to the spiritual energy, when we go against the spiritual, or we question. So the best thing that John Dee ever wrote in 1564 is like, it's the eye of the vulgar is the one that is questioning when our intellect questions the universe. The universe is right all the time. When you question it, you're not aligned with it. There is no questions with God. You don't question God. Why this, God? Why this? Should I do this? God's not here to answer your questions. God's already answered them for you. You just got to own it and be it. And that might trigger people, but that's some old school shit right there that's been proven for over 500 years and even longer, that there is no intellectualization of the universe. You are the universe. You are the strength to be it. You define it by being it in yourself. You have to take ownership of it and become it. That's hard, though.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, since you mentioned timelines, that's kind of where I was going with what I was talking about how I'm intentionally putting myself on a timeline where I'm choosing to pay attention to the people who are awakening. I'm purposely locking in specifically on the people who are awakening. Taking the timeline where, I mean, you're not going to take a timeline where everybody awakens and nothing bad happens. Of course, there's going to be some people who die. There's definitely going to be people, because there's beings that came here to play those games, and they know that's what they're here doing. But, I mean, I know that I'm taking a timeline where eventually we're going to get to a point where it's going to be a completely new world.
Yeah.
And you have the ability, and they know that you have the ability to take whatever timeline you want. That's why they brainwash you to focus on negative shit, and they get you addicted to negativity. And this is one of the things that I'm going to be going into on my next live event on High Vibe with the neuroscience of manifestation, and how they program you neurologically to subconsciously tune into things of a certain vibration. And your brain is literally wired. Your neural network is wired to things that tune into a certain vibration.
Yes.
And so that's really the only point that I was wanting to make with that.
No, and we'll make sure that link's underneath this video, too, if you want to watch it. I do want to say, too, that because that new world and the ownership is coming, it's weird, like, people talk about how the dark's all negative. The dark has also created this new thing, which I've noticed, which is this false positivity of things that don't have common sense anymore. Like, the money market's okay. The money system's fine. Everybody's going to be okay. Everybody just got a shot. You're not going to get sick. They've actually inversed it to where now people get triggered when somebody in their strength and their truth speaks out against it as you're being negative. So the dark has done the best trick they've ever done. Let's turn the light workers into the dark ones in a facade. So we push the positive of them hoping for things that are going to go wrong.
Yeah.
And anybody who speaks out against it is dark now. Because I can't even tell you. I already showed you there's fucking 19,000 or whatever, 18,000 fucking people who've unsubscribed from me just because of what I've said.
Yeah.
Paid subscribers. Paid. And I was right. That was the weird part. I was right. So it's like, but he's negative. He went off the rails. I look at that as a badge of honor. That's true strength, because you stayed on the rails that all led to a lie. I'd rather look like the dark and have the dark paint me as the worst fucking thing on the planet, but lead you to the truth in yourself, than fucking sell myself out. And fucking, the only other celebrity I know right now is Ice Cube. He just came out this weekend and fucking is like, I'm going to expose the gatekeepers. And he didn't, and he fucking went out all through the last 3 years and like, fuck that shot. I ain't getting that shit. Look at how they're wrangling all you motherfuckers to get it. I love fucking Ice Cube. That motherfucker's gangster. He was always a gangster, and he's still a gangster. But it's like, it's like, they're painting everybody bad right now that is actually doing good. And everybody that's doing bad, they're painting as good. So, if you want to keep following people, they look so good. They've got a white robe and their tarot reading is angelic. They put a crystal on the card. They don't show their face. It's all going to be okay, love and light. And that's true on a sense, but it's not true when you're just cheerleading people into, well, you got molested again? Well, I mean, that's okay. Yeah, I said in the reading to go back to the ex that keeps saying they've learned their lesson now, well, even though, so many of the cards are saying otherwise, or you know, it's just like people have gotten into toxic positivity now, which really has become the new blood in the water. Like, you're not being positive. This is all going to be okay. It's like, no, like, you're in a fucking... If you were in the Twin Towers, and I'm not even talking about the planes, but you knew about all the demolition that was in there, and if you were at home watching it and you were like, this motherfucker's coming down, and everybody's like, no, it's not. That's just some hardcore truth of, like, you know, the fact that nobody, you know, people are so upset about COVID. It's just like, people jumped out of those buildings on live television. Yet most people are too afraid to talk about it or even bring it up.
Yeah.
That it goes way farther down this whole matrix line. And that's why the neuroscience that you're going to be teaching in this next thing that's on Thursday this week, it's like, this shit is ingrained into everybody's brain so deep. And what it does is it takes them away from their will. It takes them away from their heart. It takes them away from their courage. You know, Mel Gibson's coming out with a documentary right now about all the fucking child trafficking in Ukraine. Worked with this guy who fucking was ex-military. They went there to go help some family find some lost kids. They went to Ukraine. There was over 10,000 kids lost. Mm-hmm. That motherfucker had put out Passion of the Christ and fucking got kicked out of Hollywood. That fool, go look it up. Mel Gibson was calling this shit out way back in Hollywood. They got some weird ass people there. So, and then the idea of like, oh, if you're in Hollywood, then you're automatically attached to a demonic cult. It's like, shut the fuck up. That's not true. It's about the actions and the strength of people that stand up, and if they speak out against it. If they haven't speaked out against it or called it out or said weird shit that's actually happening, or they're following with the narrative completely, then you know that they're part of that dark force. They don't have to be living in Hollywood. They could live in Tennessee and be a country singer, and they're drinking a Bud Light right now. You know, like, or whatever the fuck it might be. Like, it's not one area or one place. It's everywhere. Like the idea that I'm safer in this area. Strength is not based upon an out. I think that's the best thing that I'll put as my 2 cents with the strength card is it's never the outside that's going to give you strength. It's not the creatine. It's not the steroid. It's not the false positivity hope bullshit. It isn't anything outside. It's inside, and knowing that truth and that genuine self and that love. And being a Leo, I could say that. And with Leo rising, and Leo Mercury, and Leo Venus, and Leo Juno, and Leo fucking everything. Leo Mercury, conjunct my ascendant. I could say without a doubt that being a Leo is very difficult because you never compromise who you are, period. Even when the whole fucking world is booing you and throwing lettuce at you.
Honestly, I think that's a fixed sign thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think those of us who have a heavy fixed energy, you know, and I mean, it can work against you, but like that's one of the things that I've noticed is that every time I have somebody who's really solid and loyal, like a good friend, it's usually always a fixed sign. Yeah. And that's the coolest part about it. Is because, you know, while romantically it may not work out very well. Right. But like with friendships and your coworkers and business partners and whatnot, I've always noticed that like if two fixed signs, you know, can come together and put their eye at a goal, that exactly what you're talking about. I'm not compromising who I am. I'm not backsliding. I'm not wavering. I'm very loyal. When I say this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to fucking do. And if I don't, you know there's a serious problem. Right. Like I've kind of always been that way. That's why I've had a hard time a lot of times. Like I think my wife is the only non-fixed sign that I've ever kept in my life for a long period of time, because most people who don't have that fixed energy, they're of course she has a Leo rising though, so maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but most people who aren't a fixed sign, they're too, I don't know, they just can't stick it out. They can't stand in this energy and stick it out for the long haul. Make a decision and stand on it and say, no, I don't give a fuck. Like even Taurus. I know. Like Taurus is, no, I know lots of Tauruses. One of the things that is not my favorite thing about a lot of the Tauruses that I've met is even if they make a dumb decision, man, this is the dumbest decision I've ever made, but God damn it, I'm not changing my mind. You know? Well, and
that's the Empress card, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we should do that one sometime.
We should. But I think that my best friend who just passed away, Matt Tatum, he's a Taurus. And I knew him my whole life, literally, like He was in the womb while I was hanging out with his sister. We were both one. That's how long we've known each other. So it's like, but there's something about that understanding and allowing each other to be who we are. You've had your bad days coming here. I've had my hard days recently. Like there's that exchange of understanding each other and figuring it out and always showing up to do the work, like, and accepting the genuineness of who one another is. That's strength. That's strength to deal with another and strength to deal with it within yourself. Like that, you got to be in that place in this world now. You can't be fucking around with people in life that just don't, especially if you have questions. Is this person my partner? Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh man, that's already, you're already off the bit. Mm-hmm. There's zero strength in that. You're going to have no confidence going in there because by the time they hit the strength card, it's already known. You can't have this, I don't know if I'm defined, if this is what it is, especially in your spiritual path. The people you choose, it's all connected. Like that's all there is in life. Everything else is transitory in life, you know? But the mission is going to take its turns, but it's going to get to the goal. It might not look exactly like how we conceive it, but the framing of it isn't understood. And I think that when people try to reframe things too much, they get lost, which most people don't have the strength to stay. I mean, if you're somebody who fell for this over the last 3 years, you've already probably put up a picture that was black on your Instagram. You've already taken a picture with a fucking Band-Aid on from CVS. You've already you already have a picture with a mask on. I mean, you know, you can look at it and be like, is that you or is that you? And what everybody else did, and that has no strength at all within it. And it was funny because all of those things meant that you were strong if you did that.
Yeah.
Which is them taking their power and stealing your power from you. Mm-hmm. You know,
them programming you to be obsessed with other people's opinion of you and then using that against you. That's really all it is. Remember I was talking...
And shaming you if you don't.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about 2 or 3 episodes ago, about how, you know, all the narcissistic shaming tactics, you know, of them publicly shaming you and calling you names like homophobe and racist and misogynist and all that. You know, and all that really is in the hopes that you're afraid of being labeled and afraid that everybody's going to think you're this horrible person. Where one of the things that I tell my audience and I tell my clients all the time is you got to be solid in here. You got to be solid in your intentions. You have to be able to lay down and go to bed at night and tell yourself, I know where my heart is. I know where my intentions are. I don't care if everybody on planet fucking Earth thinks I'm a bigot or a racist or something like that. Call me whatever the fuck you want. I don't give a shit. I know that's not me.
Right.
You know, like I like how Steve Harvey said it. If you throw a rock at a pack of dogs, the one that hollers is the one you hit.
Exactly.
So like whenever you throw something like that out there, who's it going to offend? Who's it going to hurt? The people whose foot that shoe fits on. You got to be able to be solid within yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, if it reminds me of the electric car thing now. It's like people, you and I were saying we love having sports cars with loud exhaust.
Yeah.
Now that's like frowned upon, you know. It's
Fuck
like,
'em.
oh my gosh, you're being so loud. Where everybody's more like, give me my car that doesn't make noise. And the second, it's so weird, dude. The second people get in their garages, the second the front of the fucking car gets in the garage door's closing. People have become so closed off.
Yeah.
And they don't want to, you know, be genuine or be seen. They'll take their groceries out with the garage door closed. Mm-hmm. Like I'm seeing this in society more and more and more. And I don't care what state it is. It's happening all over. I've been seeing it in every state. It's like, what is going on with these people? People are like, I said already about blending in. Like, I don't want to have a noisy looking anything. Like, you know, like what? Or I'll listen to my white noise, but if I turn my fountain outside, I don't want to upset the neighbors.
Yeah.
Like, what? Isn't that going to help them too? And if they don't like it, they can, let's see if they have the strength to tell me if they don't like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel bad at my house with my fucking jacuzzi with the waterfall going off at fucking 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I'm like, it's my property. I'm going to fucking go into the jacuzzi.
Yeah.
But, you know, most people would be like, oh, good, I don't know. I'm like, fucking geez, like, relax a little bit. and that's the other part is there is a relaxation about this strength, too. Mm-hmm. You don't have to, like, prove yourself as being strong. You just have to be strong.
Prove yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
To yourself and no one else. It is funny though, because like about the sports cars in Vegas, not too long before I traded the car in, I ran to the grocery store real quick and I was backing out and a Karen started bitching. I got my radio going, my car's loud. So what I hear outside my window sounds like some kids screaming at each other. And I'm thinking, what is that? No, some kids screaming at each other in the grocery store parking lot? And it was some Karen bitch screaming at me because my car was loud. And then finally, she walked up next to my window and screamed, "That's too loud." I said, okay. So I stopped, put the clutch in, blew her fucking ears out and took off. I couldn't help it. I can't help it.
I mean, that's the best feeling, though.
But no, yeah, but going back to what we were talking about there, basically what you're talking about, no, don't prove yourself to anybody but yourself.
Exactly.
Like to me, I'm not competitive against anybody except for the person I was yesterday. That's the only person I'm in competition with. Every morning I'm on my 5-mile run and I'm like, well, how can I be better than I was yesterday? I don't give a shit if I'm better than John or Jim, or I'm not trying to be faster or stronger and make more money than this person or do like I've never understood that energy. I'm trying to be better than who I was yesterday. And I really seriously think in the times that we're in right now with them using your fear of other people's opinion and your desire to be competitive against your neighbor, against yourself. They're using it against you.
Right.
And you're using it against yourself. And it's going to take you down at the end of the day.
I was going to say, because like, this might sound so bad for Leos, but Leos, our idea of bettering ourselves is continuing to just be ourself. And it's not through what we're doing as far as just being. So it's like, but that might be the check where, because like if somebody's like, well, I'm going to better myself, but then it starts becoming to where it's overtaxing or they're doing too much, right? It's like, maybe all you have to do is just be who you are at the moment. Like you don't have to be doing something, right? But then with Leo's case, then it's like, well, you do have to better yourself too, outside of just being always just yourself, you know? So that's like, I think the good lines of understanding where those kind of energies help. Because but that's the weird thing as a Leo, it's like our bettering of ourselves is just maintaining. Leos are loud. Lions piss freely. Like that's one thing, any male Leo that you know, it doesn't matter where I'm at, I'll take a piss. I don't give a fuck if I get a ticket. Right? Like, but we piss, the lions piss on their territory. Right? And it's like Leos are loud, they roar, but they're really loving too, like,
yeah,
you know.
I was gonna say.
And there's a loudness though. It is not afraid to be loud.
Yeah.
And then I get that online more than I get with my fucking rides. He's too loud. He's too obnoxious. At least I don't sound like a parrot.
Well, one thing that I've noticed too, I remember when I first started traveling and I left Louisville, there was only like I was homeless during the wintertime. I almost froze to death. This is when I couldn't afford food. I was almost starving to death. There was only one person that gave a shit about me, and it was this buddy of mine who was a Leo. And looking at him, he was one. He went to the gym. He was fucking jacked, but he was the softest fucking, had the biggest fucking heart of anybody I've ever met in my life. And that's almost every Leo that I've ever met. Like, they may look mean and they may sound mean, but you get close to them, they got the hugest fucking hearts. Huge.
It's true.
And it'll do anything for you, you know? So that's one of the things that I've noticed. Like, I don't think, because, like, I like all the fire signs. Leo's the only sign I've never dated. But when it comes to, like, anybody that I've ever become friends with, because I'm real picky about who I connect with. I don't just go out and make friends with everybody. It's always been a Leo or a Saggy, like at the workplace. And I don't even plan it that way. Like, I just always end up finding out. Like, I'll only befriend one person at the workplace, and it'll either be a Saggy or a Leo. And I've just always noticed that. It's interesting. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I think that's what's cool about just like Leo energy is that the lion pisses on the boundary because what else does it have to use? So, like, I'm using this as an example as like how people can think it comes across as harsh or hard. I mean, think about it. If you're a lion, it's not like you're really good at like building a wall, or swimming. So you have your piss. Right? So it's like, okay, they piss around the fucking thing. And so people think, oh my God, if I cross that line, I'm going to get eaten. And what's funny is the male lions don't hunt. It's the female lions that hunt.
Yeah.
The male lions are for protection, right? And so like there's a protective quality of Leos for who they love. That's all it is. People can cross the line. They just have to acknowledge like, hey, I'm crossing the line in life. Like I'm willing to see you and trust you and be cool. Oh, okay, that's fine. You're not here to take one of my cubs. You're not here to try and fuck my girl or whatever. Okay, cool, no problem. And that's all it is. Like I feel like that's the problem though, is it's just this genuine expression that's got no filter. You know, there's no filter on Leos, so it's like it's unfiltered. And if you know a Leo and they're filtering themselves, that's the sad thing to watch. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to watch a filtered Leo because a filtered Leo is always in shame or not feeling comfortable or feeling like they're going to be too much. And I can tell you that that's how the sun feels every day, and planets move. We have to remember that the sun is a representative of the soul. The soul expresses itself at full capacity, and if the planets aren't happy, they can move a little bit farther back. Or like Mercury, the little dog, the little puppy that runs around it every 88 days, it will get really close to it. So, you know, that's the thing. Like, you know, people are too afraid of moving themselves for others instead of let others move as far away as they want to. Be that heat, and if they want to come closer, they will. That's the secret of Leo. That's the secret of life, because the sun is what brings us life. Is that, you know, in China they wear fucking full face mask, wetsuits all the way down, because if you're in China and you have a tan, that means you're a worker. So the fairer skinned you are in China, that means you're rich and that you're elegant and that you have money, right? So like if you go to the beach in China, you can look this up yourself, type in Chinese full body bathing suits. They're all over the place and they just have little holes. It's like they're Casper, but they're fucking in a black mask, or they look like otters or something. It's weird. But, you know, so you have people on this planet who don't want to be in the sun. They'll cover themselves up. And then there's others, people who, like in America, or if you're in Italy on the beach or anything, like, or you're in Brazil or something, like, give me that fucking sun, and there's people will be nude in the sun. Fuck yes. So we live in a world to where not everybody's going to be the same or accept that light from you. And you just have to, it's not like the sun's out there crying like, those Chinese people don't want to see me. But you know what? The genuine ones are the ones that do, that are working out there in the fields or working and that are like, yeah, I'll take the sun. This feels good. And then those fucking Chinese people that want to wear the fucking whole bodysuit. That's the whole funny thing. It's like, oh, you get skin cancer. Like, oh. Not when always has got me. It's like, oh, okay, so you're too afraid of the sun's energy of love bestowing itself on you.
Yeah. I don't buy that anyway.
No, and usually it's sunscreen.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but like, because it didn't pop up till sunscreen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like that's where it's like the idea of expression though is really an inner thing. It's not how you express on the outside. It's how you have to accept that strength to do it from the inside and not be afraid. You can't be afraid. The strength is about overcoming fear from the inside. It's not about the outside fear, because whatever outside thing happens is no big deal. Because if you're true to the inside, all right, I'll go to jail. I'll go through this. I'll go through it. I'm not going to compromise my true passion and strength. That's simple shit. The sun's not going to move for fucking Jupiter. Sorry, Jupiter, you want to get on the other side of me? It's going to take 6 years, you know? So we live in a world, though, that people are trying to move, and the soul wasn't meant to move. It's always within you. That's fixed. So when we talked about fixed energy, it's the soul that stays fixed in the body, embodied. Mm-hmm. People are trying to move their souls and expect their body to move with it. It's the opposite. Like, the body is being moved by the soul. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah, very fascinating. And I find it interesting as well. I think, I don't know if a lot of people know you're talking about the sun. The sun card's also a Leo card as well.
yeah.
There might be some people that didn't pick up on that, but like how you said that Leo is a sign or an energy with no filter. And I find like the Leo and Aquarius dynamic because those are opposite signs.
Right.
And opposite signs in the zodiac fascinate me, especially people with a sun and moon that are opposite. I was so close. I was one day away from having a Leo moon. I got a Virgo moon, you know?
Right.
And it's
You're
just,
on a good phase. You were born right after the new moon.
oh, okay. But I think it's fascinating. Like the Leo has
Or full moon. Sorry, you were almost full moon. Yeah.
the Leo has no filter, where the mirror image reflection energy, Aquarius, can, depending on what else is in the chart, can typically tend to be not really filtered, but
No, it expresses uniquely.
yeah, like
It doesn't follow the norms. It finds its own soul.
yeah. With me, for example, one thing that a lot of people don't know about me is that off camera, I'm quiet. Like out in public, out in social situations, I'm quiet. Can't be quiet on camera then because I have a job to do, you know? So like basically I keep it all in my head. I keep it all up here. Oh, it's
That's
loud.
what Aquarius rules.
It's loud as fuck.
Yeah, it's loud in there.
Yeah, there'll be
That's where
times
it's loud.
I'll have to ask you to repeat yourself because my thoughts are so loud. So when the camera comes on, I just flip the switch and let it all come out of my mouth. But I don't know if you would consider that filtered.
No,
but
it's the Leo's loudness of the heart and the expression through that. The Aquarius is loud in the mind and intricating and then having an epiphany after the loud thought you had 8 years ago, a day ago, and 16 weeks ago, and 2 hours just finally all came together in the loudest moment of, oh my God,
Yeah.
yes! and then expressing itself with no filter. Like, I'm doing this, I don't give a fuck with anybody, and it's always the most unique, odd thing that anybody's ever seen. It's an oddity. The same way that Leo is an oddity of a person who expresses itself fully and loves itself and will actually give you love. Aquarius will give you love though too. That's the other thing is Aquarius doesn't judge,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like there's no judgment. It's like, hey, you're cool. I like who you are. Don't try and change yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Like when Aquarius is giving you advice, it's trying to give you to get back to who you are. It's not ever to try and change you. So it's like people think that Aquarius is trying to change people. It's like, no, it's focused and set enough on understanding the dynamic, being like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. It is the one that not just solves problems, but knows how to see where a problem is and also knows how to experiment through life to find the better route and to also always rise above things. It's the same thing that Leo does, just in a different way. Like rise above the fakeness of some situation by being your genuine self, where Aquarius is going to always rise above the situation because it detaches, being like, why are you attached to this situation? It's not who you are. So it's the best one that observes, understands, and listens and figures out and expresses through its understanding. And sometimes it might take a second, just like Leo is shy. So is Aquarius because it's in its mind, or Leo is unsure in its heart if people are going to accept it to come out and be itself. It's the same way, just same shit, just different way.
Yeah. Like I always tell people, energetically, with the astrological energies, you have two groups of thinkers and two groups of feelers. Like the air signs and the earth signs are the thinkers, and the fire signs and the water signs are the feelers. And if you think mirror image reflection, especially of some sort of dynamic, I always say romantically, this is up for debate. I'm sure lots of people have opinions on this. What I've always observed, air and fire, water and earth, they go together harmoniously.
Yeah.
Like water and earth go together beautifully. That beautiful waterfall, that stream flowing. Air and fire, obviously.
Right.
So you know what I'm saying? So with that dynamic, it's the heart and the mind.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. That's the way I always look at it.
And you see that with people's like rising and moon and suns having usually those combos in there, you know? Like there's always those Might not be the suns, or it might be the moons, or it might be the risings, or it might be. But there's if you look at the combo, there's always a common. What it really is especially if we were to take it from an Aquarius standpoint, is like if there's 4 elements, you want to be able to be in elements that align with each other because they're set in those categories. Air and fire is positive. Earth and water is negative, not meaning negative in a negative way, right? But we get negative ions from the ocean, we get negative ions from the earth and so forth. And then we get the positive ions from the ether, from the sun, and then we get in the fire. But then the air, it's positive ions that go too, and neutrinos and stuff that come from the space and shit like that. So it's like, that's a scientific way of looking at it, but
it's interesting,
right? So it's like, but it's the grounding energy, the water and the earth, and the positive is where the spark comes from, like on a battery. So it's like, you know, it could be positive though, because we need the grounding though too. So, you know, sometimes if it's just air and fire and there's not enough if there's no earth or any water there at all, then it's like, oh God, the battery's on the spark, but it's just trying to find a way to hit the negative to get it to go on a battery, you know?
Yeah.
That's why they always say, like, people are so afraid of changing their car batteries. And I'm always telling them, I'm like, geez, you know, they're so afraid of the red one. I'm like, it's the fucking negative is the one to pay attention to.
Yeah.
The grounding. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, but the red one. I'm like, no. If that black's plugged in, you hook the red up, it will it'll turn on.
Yeah.
If the red's in and the black ain't in, it won't do shit. Mm-hmm. Won't do shit. You know, so like that's the interesting part, is that people don't realize that the grounding is what we live in this physical reality in. It's earth and water all over the place. Even I don't think that space is what we think it is. I still think that we're in a firmament and that's water up there. I think it's fluid motions of the planets. And I don't believe in this, like, you know, I mean, you look at NASA, they train in fucking pools.
Yeah.
And all the videos of International Space Station, you see the bubbles coming out of their fucking helmets. Yeah. So they could actually be there, but actually it's water, you know. But that's for another day. But yeah, anyway, so that was a good one. You know,
yeah. Yep. So,
but yeah, so Thursday, I'll put the link underneath, or you can go to highvibe.tv, click on Rich Lopp, you'll see it right there. His special event on Thursday. It's live streamed. You don't have to be a subscriber to High Vibe. You can just purchase it, and you have full-time access to the app, to that in the library, or on the websites, or Apple TV, Roku, all that. That's what's so cool about it. Plus, the new app update's badass with our community, and even cooler. Whether you want to fast forward through videos, do pop, picture in and out, there's so many cool features in the app. So appreciate it very much.
And what about the event? Are we still getting that?
I've been so busy, and I'm gone this whole weekend through the 4th that I'm not going to be able to make that event happen. Unfortunately, no time.
Oh, yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I've had no time.
Yeah. Well, it must be the universe saying, do it a different time, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I want to do. I mean, I'm coming to the last, the clock at the sands of time for me before diapers is at the last grains. So
you might get lucky and have a really, really awesome baby that is like no troubles at all.
Honestly, and I'm probably tripping over shit that doesn't matter at this moment. But we're both first-time parents. We have no idea what the fuck's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm already tripping out about fucking... We had to come up with a code word from, like, that's time to go to the hospital, or are you just not feeling good? Or what's the word of take me now to the hospital? She came up with pineapple.
That I just popped in my head before you even said it.
Oh, really? Yeah. So
funny.
I tried to change it to a million things, and I'm like, okay, no, pineapple.
Before
so when
you
she
said
starts
that.
screaming pineapple, it's like, go. You know. So.
Well, hopefully you end up getting lucky. Like I said, you know, that's one of those things that There is no one size fits all. It's a different experience for every person.
I know.
And it's another one. Becoming a parent is so annoying because everybody wants to tell you how to do it. But when you look at them, it's like, well, you're not fucking perfect. Everybody thinks they know the way to do it. And you're going to hear so much advice from so many different people who aren't even close to having their shit together. And it's just, that's one of the annoying things about it. But it's different for every person. Every person has a different experience. Every baby is different. Every human is different. So,
no, and honestly, to do the event that we wanted, what we're going to do, but if we have some volunteers that want to start helping High Vibe out here and you're in the SoCal area, or even if you could help with some remote things, and there is pay, of course, but I do a 2-week making sure you know what you're doing now after learning some lessons, so we can be doing it, because I can't be here by myself doing it. It's just too much. I can't. I run this show by myself on the side here right now, so talent at highvibe.tv, because I'm at my surrender point to where I need help. Like I can't run this whole place by myself. It's just too much. I reached with a funeral and with a baby shower and then all the personal life shit, and then now my personal life's growing. I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to do. I can't. It's impossible. So
we'll start putting that message out there.
Yeah, I just put it out right now.
Yeah.
And people that, but my problems are there's just people that just want something else, instead of what the work is, So that's the hard part.
Yeah.
So, and too many people want to always work remote. I forgot who just said it recently. I think it was, whether it was Elon Musk, and I think it was a couple other big CEOs that said, if you're a remote worker, you're done. This world's going to be, remote work is done. And you're not going to go anywhere,
Well, what do you mean by that exactly?
Like being stuck in just working from afar, not wanting to leave it's like the strength to go to where you got to go in life. People get too comfortable. Like, I just want to be here and this is where I'm at, even though they feel a calling to a bigger mission in their life. It's like, well, how's anything going to happen if you're just going to stay in the place that just makes you feel comfortable, where you can work from your computer? And how long is that going to last? I've had remote workers before, and then they feel one of them was great, and then she went all crazy in 2017 because I hired people here and said, well, you can't do that job anymore, but I got you a contract to do remote work here, and she didn't even want to take it because the pay was going to be 40 days away because it was a new contract. Couldn't wait the 40 days. But of course, I'm going to hire somebody that's living in this country and that moved here and that lives here. And actually, Craig moved here to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like people get trapped in the remote game.
Oh, I mean, just put it out there and trust that, you'll line up with the right people at the right time.
Yeah.
Play with some manifestation techniques.
I mean, that's where my block is,
Do your candle shit, dude. I'm wanting to do that so bad. I'm telling Lee, I want to do the fucking candle rolling thing.
I know. It's just hard, being in LA and Hollywood and entertainment. Entertainment is not a life for people that want to work a 9 to 5. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
Every shoot is late. Every creative idea, every bit of work, internet goes down, networks go down, the app goes down. It is a 24/7 called job, and it's not for the weak.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I need people.
I'm sure they're out there.
Guarantee
it. Line up with them energetically. Let the universe bring them in. There's a lot of fucking people out there. That's one thing that doing this for a living has opened my eyes to, is that there are a lot of human fucking beings on the planet. A lot. So, that's one thing that I've opened my eyes to over the past few years, is that, there is a person for every role that you would need to fill. They're out there. They're out there somewhere. It's just a matter of lining up with them vibrationally and allowing divine timing to do its thing,
I agree. It's funny. People are like, no, I was like, I probably should micromanage more. I'm like way too loose. I've learned my lessons of being too loose and letting the atmosphere to be so loose that the people that I pay just don't want it. They don't finish the job. They don't do it, you know, because I'm too not manage. I'm not a good manager.
Well, I mean, it is, well, fucking hire a manager then.
I know. It's just.
But I mean, it's in this work that you got to find a happy medium because, you know, it is a business. And to me, I kind of feel like I'm kind of the opposite. I'm a little bit too hard on myself. Like, I don't get, like, if I got work that needs to be done, I don't care if I'm sick. I don't care if I hadn't had any sleep the night before. You know, there has been times where I will reschedule a reading or something like that. But for the most part, am too hard on myself. I'm like, ugh. That's one of the things I've been trying to learn how to do.
I know. I mean, that's what this card today was like the perfect card for me in my life because I just hit that wall for after 12 years every day to where like too much shit happened. I'm alone here 90% of the time, but I also have a fiance and a baby on the way, and I can't just be here holding all the weight. It's just like fuck. And I felt bad having to reschedule readings. I had to reschedule readings for this week. I'm having to reschedule readings this week, and I don't even know where to put people because I'm having a baby. I don't want to reschedule them again. And to train somebody to teach them how to reschedule them in the system takes a week. It's that. Ask Leia. That program doesn't take 1 minute to figure out.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I have the strength to get through it like anybody else does. I just, yeah, you get to points to where, oh boy, does it feel like the fucking vice grip has just put you in the middle and you have to have the strength to just remember you'll get through.
Well, this is one of those types of things that I always talk about that, you know, you transmute the energy properly a year from now, 2 years from now, you'll look back on this and be like, that makes sense. Now I see why I went through that. Yeah. Because this is the ability right now to make some kind of change or a transformation that's needed. Like to me, whenever I find myself when I find myself in a situation like that, that's the universe saying, okay, it's time for something to change, something. So, okay, well, I'm going to start knocking on doors then. I'm going to start trying this. Right. I'm going to start trying that. I want to see what door will open.
Well, especially because, you know, you and I want to have big guests on this show.
Yeah.
I can't be sitting. I've always had, it's funny, you're here when I don't have employees. This is the first time I haven't had employees. So it's too hard to do it without. But I've had too many issues that I've had from. So it's like,
yeah.
It's a weird thing.
Well, maybe just find a happy medium, tighten up just a little bit. Not too much, but just a little bit. I mean, you gotta balance. Even though it's spiritual work, we are still living in the matrix, so you do kind of have to balance a little bit of that in there a little bit, you know. So,
yeah, I know. Yep. So that's why, unfortunately, I can't do this show on the 7th. I have no time to do it all or even finish the job to get it out there to then host that. And find somebody to even do the videos, and I'm gonna have to be. I will have no. I don't have enough help, so it's like, yeah. It's been the week of like, okay, I'm surrendered, but I feel just like, was it all for nothing or something? You know what I mean? Like, ah.
It's transformation time. Time for a new cycle.
I know.
Maybe try something you've never done before. Like maybe do you interview people? Like do you do like
I have. Just it's where I've spent millions of dollars to get to this place and tons of people. And most people will come here and I have no problem with it. And then they use it to leave, to go build their own thing. So it's finally finding people that want to stay even when they're happy. It's not like they're leaving because they hate it. It's taught them everything to get to their own place, but it's like really people who want to work together and still have their own thing and still build on top of something. People just get Well, I don't want to work anymore. I just want to go work from my house, like by myself. You know, so
They're out there.
You know,
They're out there walking around. Just got to connect with them.
I know. And so many people are afraid of this area now. Oh, God, California.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. You know, and then they think we're in LA when we're in Orange County. It's totally different.
Yeah.
I just, you know, that's been the problem, you know. So it's a ton of things, but yeah. Plus, you know, it's a huge investment on my half and a major risk. It's not cheap to hire employees and pay the taxes and then all the stuff I pay and hope that they work out, you know. It's just like, fuck. So I was saying in my live before the show on my Instagram, I think I hit over the last month, after what it took to make the move personally to get a house, to do the baby and all that stuff, it made me reflect on a business sense. And I was like, when you've spent $5 million of your own money over the last 3 years to like get it to this place, and you're alone, and people might think, oh, it's because you're a bad person and you don't know how to hold relationships. It's like, go talk to all those people. Like, it's not that. It's just shit. It's just like the universe has aligned things in all these different ways, and you have to really believe in it. And you know, when I worked at a job, my favorite job, and it went out of business, was my first job. It was at Action Boats, and I fucking wore the t-shirt because I loved wearing the t-shirt, and I fucking loved the brand that we were, and I loved it. To find employees that are like that,
well, they're out
hard.
there.
I know.
Telling you.
That don't want to feel like they're an employee but part of something, and have access to become part of it too in a big way. That's hard to. Most people are afraid.
Yeah.
So
I got a pretty positive feeling about it, though. That's one of those things that, I don't know. Usually in situations like this, 90% of the time my intuition is right.
well, I'll take that 90.
Like I don't have a negative feeling about it. It just really feels like you're at a point intuitively where things are about to transform, and it's probably going to be a pain in the ass, miserable process, but it'll make sense later on down the line, you know? So what it feels like to me intuitively.
No, I know. I just think when that $5 million has been all from videos and readings and work, right? Like, it was just from hard work. It wasn't like free money out of the sky or something like that. I think I'm bitter. Like, you know, there's just like bitterness. It's like all that work, and this is where it's at now. Like, fuck. You know, or just how many people just hate me out there because I say what I'm not afraid to say it. Like, I'm not afraid to say like what was coming. It happened, and to not fall for it and to still, you know, all that shit. People are so pissed or think I went off the rails or fucking that I question the election, because honestly, look at what's happened now. It's like, you know, looking back 2020, I don't feel bad because it was right. And it wasn't because I saw it on Fox News. It was shit that I was using history and astrology for. So it's like with a fucking history professor. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't even imagine what it feels like to be Alex Jones right now. Fucking sued him for $1 billion and won. Because he threw out an idea. So, I've been in that same, but not that fucking crazy, but in that same place.
Yeah. Well, I experienced something similar there.
Or David Icke today just got banned from all 26 EU countries to travel to.
Oh. Yeah.
When I went to Canada, they detained me for 3 hours. Said, you're an astrologer, and detained me at the border for 3 hours. So I can't even like go to like Canada, or I can't go to some country I want. Even when I tried to go to the Maldives government said, no, we won't give you the travel visa because it's 100% Islamic law. They know I'm an astrologer. Like, people don't realize, like, when you get to that place to where you can't go to countries anymore, like I just like, I'm not a safe citizen to just come to my country. Every country I've tried to go into, they've tried to stop me, or they detained me, or they wouldn't let me go. So.
And that's just like what
because my name's big enough to know what I do.
They just type your name in and it pops up in the system?
Right, yep.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know how I got flagged in Canada about, they even said, if you're doing astrology, we will detain you and arrest you. You know, so the whole time I was in Canada the last time, like I didn't, even though I did a couple videos, you know, I had to prove on Twitter I was doing a show with Rick Levine in Washington, and that was the only way I got out of the detainment center for the 3 hours. After they searched my whole car too and tore it apart, and then I had to put it all back together. And my ex-wife fucking was like, "What the fuck was that?" I was like, "I don't even know." And she's like, trying to fucking give me, and then they fucking grab her hair like, "Don't talk. You're not allowed to fucking communicate with him."
What were they looking for? A tarot deck or some shit? A crystal?
I honestly have no idea, but it was pretty wild because, well, they told me that the Governor General at the time, which the Governor General in Canada or in Australia represents the crown, so it's not the prime ministers of each. It's the person above them, which is usually not talked about. And the Governor General used to be an astronaut for Canada, but worked with NASA, and so she even, it's on Wikipedia. She says that this world is going down, and this was in 2016. She said this. It's up on Wikipedia. That she said the world is going so bad because of people who believe in things like astrology, which is a pseudoscience. So the same way that Canada was crazy about the vax, I saw that about astrology instantly at the border as an American astrologer. Like, fucking gnarly, you know? Like, fighting for my life to get out, and my Twitter saved me. So.
That's wild.
Yep. So, it's not an easy life. But it takes some strength.
Got to be a badass to come here.
I'm at a point where I have to just like pull this back out of myself. You know what I mean? It always comes back. In all people's lives. It always, I'm at this card right now in my life. You know?
It's a good place to be.
So.
They'll all tell you that anybody who is giving any kind of message on success or just brute strength in life anyways will tell you that's the best place to be, is at a place where you're broken down, you're scared, you're nervous, you're at that place. That's where who you really are is, like, that's where it comes out when you don't know what's around the corner. Like, I tell this to my audience all the time. You know how we always say everything happens for a reason, but we only say that when things are going good.
Right.
And it's when things start getting a little bit scary, when things start, you don't know what's coming next, and maybe things aren't going the way you had planned. Then do you trust the universe? You know? Then it's like, okay, well, all right, universe, I'm trusting that you're not a dumbass and that whatever's happening now is happening for a reason. So I'm going to immediately connect to the future after all this shit's over, and I'm going to connect to that version of me who made it through this and is looking back on this thankful that it happened. And then if you can hold on to that, I promise you, watch it unfold.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not some weird fucking just handle like that was in the fucking supposed fucking sub that was from Home Depot that they just drilled some fucking cabinet handles on. Sounds like a great submarine. No, like the real stuff. I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So, I think that's what's cool about this podcast is, you know, it's not just the talk, but it's real life shit happening in the moment too. Like I'm not. I know you're not afraid, and I'm not afraid. If I could just be real about what's going on in life too, like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's hard about the strength card is I feel like it's like, well, no, look at your life. Things are going good. It's like, no, things are going good. But there's still that like, well, there's just a lot of weight and there's a lot, how is it going to happen? And then, you know, you reflect too much on the past and then you think the past is going to repeat. That's what's weird about the 8 in this or the karma or the, you know, and then you can, you know, how to push through that. That's the That's the hard part. So
That's what builds you, though.
yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll catch Rich's show on Thursday. Go to High Vibe. I'll put the link down below on this when we're done, and I know you'll rock it. So, and then we'll see you for the next one next week. I don't even know what card we're doing yet. Oh wait, I'm going to be gone next week. So
it's a no show on next Monday.
yeah, no show Monday. I'll be.
Okay.
It's July 4th weekend. I'll be up for a family reunion for Sophia's family. So our last trip before she's not allowed to go anywhere. So. All right, everyone. So I guess we'll see you. Or maybe if we do it some other day next week. I don't know. I have to look at how my schedule is going to turn. I'm going to be back the 5th. So
Just hit me up and let me know.
I will.
I'm pretty flexible.
All right, everyone. Adios. Peace out.